y'all. How y'all doing this morning? I can tell the farmers markets are up and going. I'm getting a lot of questions. You know, I've canned for probably 20, 25 years. Up until the last 5 years, my canning was a novelty to a lot of people. It's not so much a novelty anymore. Yay. But I want to go over some of the questions people ask me, starting with number 1. Do I have to have a pressure canner? Those things scare me so bad. Okay, let's deal with the first part. What is it that you want to can? If you're not someone that's ever going to want to can broth, soup, dried beans, meat, carrots, green beans, potatoes, vegetables, then probably not. If you just want to make jams and jellies and pickles and salsa and tomatoes, all you need is either a water bath canner or one of these. This is my favorite. This is a steam canner. Uses a whole lot less water than a water bath. Has a gauge on top you use for whichever altitude you are. Put your jars in there, put it on there. Steams it in the same amount of time it water baths it. Okay. But I'm afraid of a pressure canner. They blow up. I say this, and I would stake my life on it. A pressure canner only blows up if you don't follow the rules. For this reason. I don't care if you use a Presto like I do, or an All-American. They all have this little valve here. If you follow the directions on this pot, and you put 3 quarts of water, or however much water yours calls for, you put your stuff in there, you've put the lid on properly, and you're using it the way the manufacturer said to use it, it's not going to blow up. But you have to babysit it. Don't put it to going and then go in there to drink a cup of coffee, because things can happen. Things can happen. So it won't blow up if you use it properly and you respect it, because it is a dangerous piece of equipment, just like a car. Just like you were nervous about driving the first time. But now you drive with your knee, a cell phone in one ear, and a Coke in the other. That's dangerous. Same thing with a pressure canner. I don't care if you're using it for the first time or you've been using it for 20 years. The rules are still the rules, and it will be dangerous if you don't use them right. Okay? Next question. But how will I know how long to can for? I used to have every one of them before the fire. I had every edition of the Ball canner. We are learning more every day about safe home canning. But if you buy one of these books and read it, something that I say all the time, and it bothers me, instead of buying, and I think I paid $16.99 for this book, they go on Facebook and ask questions. They ask questions to people they don't know. They don't know their experience. They don't know if they've even ever canned before. And they take their word for it. Don't take my word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Do some research. I can never remember those initials, but the National Home Canning Institute has a wonderful website that goes even into more depth than this. Also, someone that has a home economics degree. She's very, very well read. She's very experienced. Is on YouTube. She's called Rose Red Homestead. I think it's Rose Red something. But she's a beautiful red-headed lady. She really knows her stuff. And if you ever need to know, just go to her YouTube channel and do a search on whatever it is you're trying to can. And she really, really, really does give you the science behind it. Me, I follow the rules. Now, that's it. Do I follow the rules on everything? Pretty much. Okay. Question number 2. You've done a gorgeous job canning, say, Macovia beans. I love these, by the way. They're a Latin pinto bean. They have a little bit of a milder flavor. Love them. But anyway, I've got these jars that I can, and the lid's on tight, and they look good, but I'm afraid to serve it to my family. Okay? It's a legitimate fear. Legitimate. So let's dive right into that, shall we? Because you've been online, and they've told you, botulism doesn't smell, it doesn't taste. You have no idea if there's botulism in your jar. Okay, that person doesn't know flip what they're talking about. Okay? Don't listen to them. If you took your bone broth, or in this case, this is turkey broth, and you have filled your jars, and technically my jar's not quite full enough, but this was whatever. I took this. I put the broth. I used good ingredients. I put the broth, brought it to a nice boil, put it in my jars, put my lid on, put it in my pressure canner, and I've canned it properly. I let it cool down on its own, took my jars out, set them on the counter, let them set for 24 hours. Then I took the lids off, the rings, washed my jar good, and put it on the shelf. Now I want to make something with broth. I want to make chicken and gravy. So I want to use this in my food, but how do I know I'm not going to make my family sick? Okay. We're going to look at the jar first. Look at it. Does it have a strange foam on it? Sometimes jams and jellies will have a foam. But in this one, does it look good? Does it look like it looked the day you canned it? This is an empty jar so that I can show you. So you've picked your jar up, you've looked at it, it looks good, and you do this. It's nice and tight. But then you do this. Don't serve what's in that jar. Because if a jar is sealed, this little button, can you see it right here, will be sucked down. When you tap on it, it's going to do this. That lid's not going to move. Other than visually looking at it, that's going to be your first clue. Your second clue. When you take and I use a church key, and you hook it under here, and you slowly open this jar, do you hear it go psh? Okay, that's another clue that this was sealed properly, because if this is sealed properly, there's no air in it, there's no oxygen in it. To understand botulism, you have to understand botulism will not grow sitting on a piece of bread, sitting on the cabinet. Botulism needs a specific environment to grow in. It needs an environment that's moist without oxygen. This is why in non-acidic foods, like vegetables, broth, beans, stuff like that, you have to get the temperature of this jar up to 240 plus degrees. You cannot do that in a steam canner. You cannot do that in a water bath canner. I don't care how long you put the jars in this water bath canner. I don't care if you boil them for 30 minutes or you boil them for 3 hours. The interior of this jar will never get any hotter than the interior of this pot with water in it, which means it's only going to get to 212 degrees. 212 degrees is boiling, and it will kill any active spores. It will kill any active bacteria, okay? That's why water bathing is okay for acidic foods like tomatoes. But it doesn't kill the spores. You need 240 degrees to do that. That's how you know. Because when you put your jars in a pressure canner, you're going to bring it up to boiling. When it's steaming here for 10 minutes, that's 212 degrees. You're then going to put a weight on it, either a weight or a jiggler, either one. The weight, I'm going to watch until it hits 10 pounds, and then I'm going to turn my fire down, and I'm going to hold it at that 10 pounds for a specific amount of time. Green beans takes 20-25 minutes. Pinto beans take 75 and 90 minutes. Meats take 90 minutes. And you're going to hold it at that point for that length of time. That means all of the spores in this jar have been killed. Okay? You've done all of that properly. You've got this can of green beans that you opened. I just opened this one, and you smell it. Smells good. That's your third warning. If when you smell this, you go, stop. Right there. Don't go any further. That's how you know. That's how you know. And I know what some of them are you going to tell me. My grandmother did it this way, and none of us ever died. Well, this is true. I've seen people drive a car down the freeway with their knee on the phone with a cigarette in this hand. No one's died until someone does. Botulism is on the rise. It's still extremely rare. But the reason we have more cases in the last 5 years is because people don't follow the rules. Follow the rules of safe canning. Invest $16 and buy you a book. Pull up on that little smartphone that all of you have in your hands to the Canning Institute and read. But above all, what I want you to do is enjoy it. What I want you to do is take responsibility for your own food source and enjoy yourself. Follow the rules and enjoy yourself. I would much rather someone come on a website or in a class and say, where can I find the guidelines for canning tomatoes? As opposed to, can anybody tell me how long I have to can tomatoes for? Because you're just asking people you don't know. You don't know if they've ever canned anything. They tell you they have, but have they? Find someone like me that teaches classes and go to it. You'll be a lot more secure in what you're doing. and you'll enjoy it more, and you'll be very secure in your food source. Okay? Have fun.